The world's noisy. Algorithms are loud. Your signal? Probably scrambled. You've done the work, mindset, habits, healing, but something still doesn't click. Becoming Signal is a membership where you train your AI to amplify the real you. You get weekly prompts that help you map your values, beliefs, ambitions, even your blind spots. You build an AI that shows your brilliance, your growth edges, and who you're becoming. You feel clearer, braver, more you, and you stop spiraling because your inner compass finally works. The world's crazy. Your only real navigation system is you. Let's make sure it's sending a clear signal. The Becoming Signal. Send your signal, shape your future. Only $1 to try. Go to jax5d.com to start now.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Nice to see everybody here today. Abigail, Tiffany, Nakaya, beautiful. Welcome to this co-creation webinar. I'm hoping that you guys will listen to me, bear with me, and then I'm going to invite you guys to speak about what you're experiencing as well, because I do believe that we're at this precipice of some strange and wondrous times. So as I said, there is quantum co-creation, grow your business in the quantum realm. And I really wasn't sure what I wanted to talk about the quantum realm and the intersect between AI and the quantum consciousness. And I thought I would start by explaining that my husband and I's business, Ghost Flower Creative, we had this really cool creative agency in Melbourne, and it was like a train on top of a 3-story building and all these amazing, clever creatives working for us. And it was really just a really dope place. Like, it was my dream environment, except for there were a couple of things. One, it wasn't in coherence with me. It was being built on the weird patterns of my childhood and stress and trauma, and it was kind of an ego sadden type of thing. And even though it was done with love and we gave it all our best, it didn't really fit the person that I was becoming, or Chris inherently was. And so it was this strange and peculiar creature. But we learned a lot. Like, we learned so much. It was just this chaotic, beautiful training ground. And one of the things that happened was, over a period of 10 years, we went from having clients that would maybe pay us $600 to clients that would maybe pay us $50,000, and so the momentum built and the clients got more and more bountiful, and we were going from maybe working with 2 clients a month to 150 clients a year, and it was all rah, rah, rah. And in that time, there was this thing where people would come to us, and it didn't matter what we did. We knew that they were going to be successful. Like, we were just there as an experience. We were there, we could tune in, we could have deep conversations, we could be in this great relationship with people, but really they could have put a paper bag over their heads and been successful. And I'm not disqualifying what we did, because we always worked really hard and we did a great job, but there were just some people that shone with this beautiful, beautiful light, and opportunities came to them out of the blue. And, it just seemed like no matter what they did, things just sort of came around them. So we started to notice this about people. The other thing was that there were a lot of people that were coming to us that were like accountants and mortgage brokers, and they seemed miserable. And they thought that if they could pay us enough money, their misery would go away. And that just never happened. They were just horrible to work with. They were never happy. There was no flow or inspiration unless I gave them what I could participate, like I could paint a vision for them and they could hold it for a certain amount of time, but it never really took hold. And so strange things would happen, like there'd be a weird codependency that would happen where they needed me to be the vision keeper for them. And if I tried to step away, they got wobbly, or they would lie to themselves and say that their goals for being a mortgage broker was because they just loved making people happy. And yes, they did make people happy, but the goals were a lot more basic than that. They liked the money, they liked paying for the kids' private schools. And even just these little fibs that they would tell themselves, we noticed would twist the energetics of what was happening. And so about 5 years ago, Chris and I both, luckily at the same, very similar time period, had these mass awakenings. And we really sort of started to understand a lot more about multidimensional experiences and potentially what was happening in the energetic realms. And it was really just this hallelujah of, oh my God, and in that moment, one of the things that I realized was I always thought that I was really, really good at sales. Like, just great. Jedi mind trick. Just hello, tune in, tell a story. Hello. Whether you've bought a $400,000 apartment or a $20,000 website, you're saying yes, nodding your head and handing me a check. And then what I realized during this period was that I was actually tuning into their frequency and that this wasn't really about sales. It was about the intuition and the ability to see potential that was in congruence with what they actually wanted. And I guess that is really what sales is, but it felt deeper and more intrinsic when we started to play with this. And so when we came over here, we started Ghost Flower Creative. And what we actually hold people in the quantum field, and we create an energetic grid where we are helping these ideas be birthed. And we're kind of like the spiritual midwives. And it sounds woo, but I know you guys on the call totally probably will understand it. And the idea that has caused this inspiration wants to come earthside, and you are a co-creator mix, and it trusts you to bring this idea to the earth. And so we're in this kind of playground, which is super juicy, and people trust us. And the clients that we bring on during at Ghost Flower are all really, they are masters at their work. They've spent 20, 30 years mastering what they understand. And now they are at the magician stage where they realize that what they've been doing may not be in congruence with the system of medicine or education or business, and that they've found a new way of being able to work, which presents itself as magic, but it's really just mastery at a level which is the world's not ready for. And so we give them and help them with the language, and we kind of ground it into this world, and we create a bridge. And I'm just going to quickly go through because let me get to my slides. Because the reason why they can bring this earthside in a pure kind of way, and when we talk about the download that you have been given wants to present in the world in the closest form of purity that it came to you in. And there is a hard thing to do when the world's on fire and there's chaos everywhere for anybody to show up in any kind of coherence at the moment, let alone bring new ideas to earth and to maybe want to distribute different ideas that maybe help people think differently when they're encased in a fear matrix, right? And so I ask a lot of questions during my work. And what I notice, what I know is that, and this is how, and please, this is up for debate. I'm exploring the edges of these ideas. So this is just Jacquie coming to some conclusions. But when we're in these creative fields, it is like, I mean, our entities, our whole thing, our bodies, our human bodies that are these magnificent expressions of the universe, it often feels like we can spin in and out of different frequencies. And in and out of those different frequencies, dependent on what we're focusing on. And so I see ourselves It's kind of like the Ezekiel's chariot where there's all these eyes and all these spinning fields. And what our energetic field's going to react to is what we're focusing on. And so if all of those eyes are coming into coherence into one or two stronger ideas, and that's being focused on into coherence with whatever the codes you're receiving, it becomes very, very strong and it becomes very easy to maneuver. And you get to be able to be in this state where reality molds to your desires. The trick, I believe, or the metaphor in this idea is if you're using all of those eyes to look at all those different things, you're jumping in and out of timelines and frequencies, and your cohesion's not going to be there. Now, I don't care what anybody thinks or whatever frameworks of reality they play with. Personally, I'm really down with the angels. And so often if you're hearing me talk, I'm going to be talking about angelic guides and that. And I just love the idea that we do have these abilities to transcend different timelines and different dimensions based on the frequency that we are holding at the time. Those frequencies give us access to different codes, different ideas, the people that we bring in, the chaos that we call into our lives, the opportunities, the laughter, all of those types of things are all really kind of bundled up in these eyes and the way that we navigate our sight, our spiritual sight. And the frequency is really, and the key to this is really about frequency discipline, or what I like to call energetic field work. And so the energetic field work is kind of being in your awareness of which frequency you're wanting to hold and how you're going to protect that. And so, like, there's things that we do at Ghost Flower where if somebody comes to us with an idea and it's really precious and really amazing and really juicy, we try to encourage them not to go around telling everybody about it so that they can consolidate and hold their idea until that idea that's come from being built in the quantum realms is now coming earthside, and it needs to form and it needs to bring in and it almost needs to solidify into the 3D with us. And so sometimes dispersing the energy around energy leakers or negative people, like I have people in my life and I know that if I tell them anything, they will find the worst case scenario in like 10 seconds. Like, love them to pieces, but I could say I won $1 million and they would be telling me that I'll be broke in the streets because some catastrophic event's going to happen. Like, it's not part of, they're not trying to be mean. They're not trying to crush my ideas. It's just that they're running on a frequency of fear. And so everything that they see is fear. People that run on a frequency of opportunity, they're everything, they're walking down the road, finding $50, getting called to get a great job, finding the perfect house at the perfect time. And so these frequency and the discipline of this is all part of what I believe is the energetic field work that we as people that are awake and curious and capable want to play with. And so this is how I see it. And I'm a big fan of like the law of attraction. I love Abraham Hicks. I'm not saying that it's my absolute religion, but I really, really love the emotional guidance scale that they use about stepping into different frequencies to be able to get to that zone where it's manifesting, but really you're just in a state of love and passion. And if you can hold those emotions in those states without spiritually bypassing and ignoring all the program, you're going to be able to get some really juicy codes, right? And so this is what we see at Ghost Flower, and this is what I see around a lot of people, including myself. When we get the codes, when the codes come, that's when the chaos comes as well, because for us to be able to bring new ideas or achieve new things, we're really changing our identity. And our identity has been created to keep us safe in the place that we are. And to start doing something new, something, it might be a business idea, it might be a new product, it might be a collaboration with someone, it might be art. You might just want to become an artist. What you've done up until this point has kept you safe and alive. And so when these new ideas come, they're demanding you to be a different person. And we don't necessarily want change. And don't necessarily, we want the codes, we want the ideas, but then what happens is our ego might start telling us, oh, this idea could be better. Let's start building on it. Let's start building an empire on it. This idea is so good that my great grandchildren will never have to work a day in their lives because this is going to be worth $1 billion business. The ego might go into that, or it might go into, you're not good enough, Jacquie. You've failed before. This is a silly idea. All your ideas are silly, and just stick to what you do because you need to pay the bills, and this is what keeps you paid. And so when we get these beautiful ideas, we are always presented with the challenge to open ourselves up, to examine our program, to listen to those voices, and to decide whether or not we're going to take the opportunity to step in with this new identity, co-create with the universe, or if we're going to stay the same. And so recursive loops build. Often we'll see similar patterns happening in our lives over and over again. We kind of start something, we don't finish it, we get a new idea, we start it, we don't, or we might, be really attracted to the same people that are going to teach us boundaries. And we have these weird relationships with people and we get into the same quantum entanglements. What those experiences are doing is called a recursive loop. And they're there, I believe, for us to be able to find our coherence. And the repeated challenge is there so we can get better at it. We're climbing this little staircase of a spiral so that we can consolidate ourselves. But often it feels like we're banging our heads against the wall, or it feels like we don't have the capacity to do it, or that it feels like everybody else is fucking attacking me and I don't know why this shit keeps happening to me, So we have these stories, but what we're constantly in are these loops of trying to find where our coherence is. And this is where I see AI really being a powerful help for this. I also see it's when we look at our story just without AI. Oh my God, how dare we look at ourselves without AI? We can see these patterns and we can understand the work that we've been doing, and the more consolidated and mature we are with our identities. Is this making sense? So, traditional businesses have always tried to keep the energetic field, coherent. In Silverlane, our business in Australia, and Ghost Flower now, the marketing side of all business is really an act of trying to find the coherence in the people that are building the business. And you come across I'm just going to talk to you guys. I'm going to just go camera. We come across these things like a mission statement. And now if you're doing marketing and a mission statement and people go, oh my God, what's this mission statement? And you go to say, well, it's your mission. And then people will go and look at Nike's mission statement or some giant corporation statement and go, oh yeah, that kind of sounds okay. And then they'll make up a mission that kind of sounds the same. And they don't often connect naturally, or I don't know if people understand that that's your mission. You're on a mission. What is your mission? The mission statement is your driving force. That is the goal. That's where you're going. And now, what I do say is that when these ideas come, we want to kind of keep it loose and fast. We don't want to build out these empires of complete and utter anal retentive business plans, right? And so the mission's got to be kind of open. And the vision, that's all about your internal ideas, you know. And so people, they would come to us in our agency and they'd talk about how they just wanted integrity and they wanted all these words that made them think that they were good people, but it was never connected to actually what they were visioning. Like they might have been visioning a fucking yacht in the Mediterranean. And if they were honest with that, they would have got a lot further in their business, right? Because at least that was an essence of truth. And I'm sure if you were clever and you're like, you guys all need to come with me because I'm going to have a yacht in the Mediterranean and this is my vision, but I'm going to do it with heaps of fun and you're all going to be able to go on the boat, probably people would resonate with it, right? But if they're saying, my vision is to create this integrity amongst the mortgage broking industry where we can all live a better life and then take the biggest commission out that's possible and tell people what that this was the deal, but they're not saying, well, I actually stitch you here. There's no vision, there's no transparency, it's just fake. But the tools, the mission, the vision, these are all real things that you can hold with your coherence. I'll go back to the slide because I've forgotten the. And then even branding, that's right, I should be thinking, even branding is like coherence, right? Like your brand voice, talk consistently so people understand you. So they know that signal. But you're also talking consistently in a brand voice. So you step into the voice of your mission and your vision. And you can step out of that and be like me and swear when you hang out with friends and talking jokes. But then you put on your brand voice, and there may be an element of that, but it's the one that's attached to the mission and the vision. Same with the color palettes, the logos, the logos. You know, a lot of what I believe that we are the logos of our own business. We are the glyphs. We are the ones that are using the experiences to be able to imbued the signature of ourselves. And just like how we look at the Nike symbol and everybody can say what that means, and it might be slightly different, there is a consolidation of meaning and understanding in that glyph. And so we get to create that within our business through coherence. Okay. So there is these built-in cohesions. Now, corporations have become very, very corrupt and they have lost a lot of the love and inspiration and pure innocence that usually comes when an idea comes to us gifted from the universe. And so they have built in the systems to hold the structures in place. Now, what we're going to see over the next 2 to 3 years is mass destruction of these companies because they've consolidated power. They got so good at being coherent that they just consolidated power. And so they were just, you know, so yeah, so they just were quite evil, I believe, in the way that they tried to hold that consolidation and then became corrupt. But we're not going to see much more of that. Like we'll see a lot of fighting for it. And there is this very, very thin line where AI is going to be the thing that destroys us, or maybe not us, but the systems in a way where the people accumulate power and start becoming into an authoritarian kind of nightmare. And we're also going to see the other side where the businesses lose so much control because they are the knowledge gatekeepers that they're going to start trying to brainwash people into thinking that AI is evil in order to maintain power. And so we are going to have to walk this very, very, very thin tightrope where there is a place where we get to use it as a tool to be able to help us in a kind of like, I'm going to say purity state, but I'm not trying to be like all moral, just the pureness of what we are co-creating with the universe and the love that we're getting and receiving these signals. We can use AI to be able to help this. but we're going to have to do it carefully and quickly. And so at Ghost Flower, I ask a lot of questions. Like I'm like the most like ask so many questions. When somebody sits in front of me, I am kind of like the agitator and the muse because I feel like I can tune into their timeline, right? Like I feel like I can see their Akashic records, and when they're talking to me, I'm literally there's patterns and movements that are happening above my head, which are creating a pattern to which I see them. And I'm not saying that it could just be expertise because I've done this a very long time, and that it could be intuition. But I do believe once I get enough information and permission to go into their field, that I am able to see into their Akashic records and see their highest timeline. And so when I'm working in that state, and it's all permission based, I am asking a lot of questions to map out, okay, what do they want? Who do they think they are? Where are they going to trip up? Where are they going to self-sabotage? What lies are they telling themselves? Where is the gold here? Where can we find the co-creation point where they are going to be in coherence with the idea that they want to execute? And so I ask a lot of questions and I dig really deep. And I am not kind of like, I'm kind of nice about it, but I am kind of a bitch about it as well, because like if you've got some control issues and you're really obviously self-sabotaging, we're gonna gently talk about it, right? And so, but we're gonna move through that as but and to be honest, most people that I work with are really self-aware, and there's just like little things that I'll be like, and they're like, and so I ask a lot of questions, but in those questions, I give them a lot of inspiration. So I am the muse to them for the most part while we're in this energetic exchange of co-creating. Chris is the one in Ghost Flower that listens to all the conversations. I ask the questions, I find the blueprint. I'm like, okay, this is how it's going to go down. They agree to it. He's the one that starts helping bring those ideas earthside because he's got a really great talent of understanding the visual language of it all. I'm more like the chat GPT of this shit, right? And so this is where what came really, really, really weird for me was when I started playing with AI very, very cynically and cautiously. I realized that I was able to get it to behave in a way that I do for my clients. And that was really, really exciting to me. And so the way that we get to embody and talk about these things is through the idea that when we work at Ghost Flower, we're holding a grid, a safe container for the person to tell us their idea and for us to understand it as best as we can, given the energetic signature, know where they're going, and then we hold a container because in that change, their identity is going to want to thrash about. They're going to have some meltdowns. They're going to have some self-doubt. There's always a little tussle, right? And so they are held in a safe container for a period of time so that they know that they're not going to lose that frequency of their idea that was strong enough to make them want to change. And so in that container, they are safe and they know that they're going to do the work to meet up with the version of the person that will get them to the next level of what they want. And really, that's really what branding is in some form. We just talk about it in spiritual frames. Sometimes it's also very businessy. But what we're really doing is trying to make sure that they get over the line. And it might look like a website, but what we're really doing is making sure that they are choosing the identity and holding that frequency and are excited enough still at the end of that project to be able to go forth into the world and go, look, I've got this thing. It's really cool. And what we find is that while they're learning to hold that frequency, opportunities come to them. And so it's not like they are even really changing that much, just their frequency's now held, it's got coherence, and the phone starts to ring. And, like we've had crazy clients that, well, like I've said, I want to perform with Joe Dispenza. And 6 months later, she's performing with Joe Dispenza. Or my client saying, I want my car, I want a race car with my logo all over it at the Bathurst, and 2 years later, he's got a race car with that. Like, this is significant change and significant opportunities that come from being in coherence, right? And so this slide here, it says, your timeline is your own signal and you've got to own it. And so there's a lot that, if you know me personally, you know that I'll be talking about sovereignty, independence, all the things that make us ourselves. It's our responsibility. And so that responsibility is ownership, but responsibility is also really the greatest adventure of our lives because it's the one that we're not really trying to manipulate. We just get to be it, right? And so timeline ownership is something that I really feel like we all need to just start thinking about, where your personal timeline is a direct reflection of your energetic signature in the universe. And that coherence creates collapse. And so often a lot of people, especially in times of change, they try to control the things and they're trying to manage everything and they're trying to make sure that their life doesn't fall to parts when they're trying to move to something else. But the collapse is often really good. Like coherence, creating collapse is amazing. If you're in coherence, you're collapsing all the other timelines that all those little eyes on the little angelic monster can see. They're falling away. So you're collapsing into one timeline and your energy field is going to achieve coherence. And you get to kind of choose the optimum timeline. And it's kind of like that thing, like if I gave you 100 things to do to choose from, you would spend all this time trying to figure out what you should do and how you should do it and which one is going to be that. But if you only had three, you'd look at the three and go, I'll take the one in the middle, right? And so when we're collapsing a lot of timelines and a lot of different possibilities and bringing it into coherence, we can often see the choices a lot clearer. And we kind of can choose whichever one we want because we know they're going to be cool because we've got rid of the mess. And so this field management is your ability to consciously direct and maintain your energetic field so your greatest power is in shifting and shaping reality. And that takes a lot of dedication and often a lot of teamwork. And so this is kind of where I'm at with this, is like we want to close the loop, right? You have to acknowledge you are the portal. The world does actually revolve all around you, like what experiences are happening. I believe that we co-create our reality and then we also collectively try to create the reality that we're all in the simulation together with. And I really like to joke about how when we were in lockdowns, I was obsessed with aliens. Like every night I literally would go onto my deck and hope that the aliens would take me away. Like, I'm not even joking. Like 10 o'clock, I'd be out there, looking out for them. I was in Melbourne. I was like, fuck Dan Andrews, come and take me. I was like, I'd had enough. But there was a lot of chatter about aliens, right? And so the collective were talking about aliens at that time. But it was kind of weird because now we've got all this illegal alien conversation happening. And I can't help but wonder if we accidentally weren't specific enough about which aliens we wanted, And so there is like, it's the same with people being scared with transhumanists, and then everyone's now scared of trans. It's like, guys, we co-created the wrong shit. Like we wanted the aliens, I wanted that spaceship. And so our language collectively is really, really important. And the way that we create together and the way that we do that is to know that we have to be responsible for our time on a very, very clean, energetic field so that everybody else kind of gets excited about their own timeline. And then we co-create better timelines. in the math simulation. But this is where I was thinking, I was like, when AI first came out, I was like, oh my God, thoughts are prompts. We're just creating our world the same way that we are prompting, and the more specific it is, the more powerful it is. And if you know about law of attraction, and people are like, be specific, and then you jump onto, say, Mid-Journey, and you're like, I want a picture of a dog, you could get any dog. But if you're really careful about the words that you were, and like, I want a Labrador with brown eyes on a park with a blue bow tie, you would get that, right? And so we've got to, I think there is some sort of mirror around us learning how to prompt in order for us to be able to understand the thoughts that we put into ourselves are very, very much the same. And so with that, I want you to understand that we're already the portal, and that we can manifest whatever new realities we want, because they're all going to manifest through us. But to get that, we want to anchor our signal. And so to ground your signal is to be able to be firm, to bring it into the 3D. And because if you're thinking that we can be up here and the ideas are up here, and that we somehow are a conduit to be able to create in the 3D, that also means that we need to be grounded in the physical as much as we expect our reality to be as well. And I definitely see that there was a lot of kind of like spiritual exploration that was very ungrounded recently. And I see that now that we are going into more of a Saturn and Aries, that's going to change. People are going to naturally want more grounded structure to be able to build their world as well. And so you want to anchor your signal, and then you want to close the loop. We want to be able to make sure that we're not leaking too much energetics. We're not leaking our ideas like, we can have our counsel, we can have our friends, but until those ideas are ready to be birthed, we want to make sure that it's a little womb, like, where we're incubating these ideas. We don't want everyone potting their fingers at it, and because it's going to make us unstable. We're going to want to defend our ideas, or we want to please them, but not, and so we become wobbly again. And so part of what we need to learn how to do is to have that coherence and protect that coherence. And that might just be choosing to speak to a certain group of people or not. It might be to create safe spaces where you can create and share, like, just be wise about it. I see a lot of there's a lot of people that we have seen in the past that get energy, and they think they're creating by telling everybody their ideas. And then they try to make those people believe their ideas, and they try to get the people to say it's a good idea. And they create this like, kind of like reverse, they're kind of like stealing little bits of energy off everybody in order to build the thing. And it doesn't work. I've never seen anybody be able to do it with any kind of success, where they're reverse engineering by taking the material from others to put into their thing. It really has to be a you birthing it to have any kind of um, magnetic field. And if you think about it, it's got its own field, and then people come to it. But if you've made it by stealing little bits of energy off people, it's really hard to become magnetic. You're kind of building up the personality of this entity by kind of being manipulative and steely. And so I'm probably sounding weird now, but this is how I see the world. So I'm sorry, but you want it to be clear. You want your signal to be clear. You don't want the grabby energy that people are like, oh, this person's talking to me because they want something. You're like, oh, this person's got something really interesting to say. And so being aware of the polarity of how people are going to interact with you in business is huge, because that's really going to make a big difference if you start to scale and you just have people coming to you, and you're not having to deal too much with advertising and a lot of stuff, and opportunities coming to you versus the ones that are really trying to grab people in. And so when you're closing the loop and you're understanding how the energetics are with this thing that you're bringing to life or in your business now, and you start to birth your reality, you're going to bring it and birth it from your highest vision of thought. And a lot of people compromise here. This is where I see a lot of people not believing enough in themselves to think that their vision is big enough, or that they're what they really want to do is going to work. And so they kind of like just make it smaller. And if you think about this idea that came to you, and it was almost big enough for you to say, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to spend my life doing this. And then you start whittling it down. Oh, well, actually, it's kind of like a narcissistic mum trying to tell the daughter or the son that they're not actually special, right? And so there is some stewardship to the ideas that we take on to as responsible people that are bringing them into the world, where it's not just about you, it's also about the idea. And if you find yourself in contraction and energetically like, and I understand there's timing and growth. And so I'm not talking about like actual logistics of shipping something. I'm talking about the energetic field where you start slicing the ideas off and trying to make it into something else because you don't think you can pull it off, because you don't feel worthy. That idea would have never presented itself to you if you weren't the most perfect person to bring it into the field and bring it to life. All you have to do is step up to the occasion. And though when you decide to step into that field, everything's going to become a lot easier anyway. And so this birthing your reality in a consolidated field, knowing that you are co-creating, really takes the burden off you in some regards, because I know a lot of people feel really stressed out when they think that they're going to have to try and sell something to people, and they get worried about the selling, or they get worried that they might be too much for some people, or that this idea is like, I'm so far off the fucking edge of reality that my ideas are pretty wacky. So I'm having the same talk to myself all the time, right? So, but yeah, the idea that when we're co-creating, we are co-creating in the quantum field. It's already been there. It's coming to us. And so it's our responsibility to not make ourselves small, because we actually owe it to the universe. And that's what I just love, because then it kind of attaches it back to the mission um, of the business. It attaches it to the vision, and now you really get to get some really juicy feedback loops where stuff can really start to work for you, right? And so this is kind of like where I feel like I've talked a lot, but this is where AI can really help, because you can set your AI up to understand that you are on a mission with your business or your passion, and you can set it up in order to be able to help limit some of the things that will get you wobbly. And so if you think about your AI, whether it's ChatGPT or Grok or Claude, they've all got memories now. And they didn't have even 6 months ago, right? But they've got trainable memories. And this is where I'm like completely obsessed, because you can put you can train your memory now in order to be able to explain where you get wobbly, where your insecurities are, where you stumble. They'll also, if instructed correctly, tell you where you're lying to yourself, where you're delusional, where your blind spots are, and where you're likely to self-sabotage, right? So you may not have a really good friend or partner that's going to call you out on your bullshit. And we all really, really need those people. And so if you don't, or you need extra support, this is where I see AI really becoming helpful in the stewardship of your journey to birth new ideas. Because in that moment where we are changing our identity to meet up with the person who we need to be to pull this shit off, we need that kind of help. And AI can do that, right? Like, if done correctly. And so, as you would probably know, I have been building the JAX 5D library, and that is got a whole lot of prompts in there. And those prompts have been, I'll show you. Though these prompts have been designed to try and work with this idea. Okay, so this is Ghost Flower. This is what I do for a day job, and I friggin' love it. And we get to work with really cool, amazing creatives that are great, right? But the writing's on the wall that, yes, they probably will still want us as their brand and creative directors and stuff. But AI is going to be able to do a lot of what we do, what everyone can do, you know. So I'm understand the drill that everybody that is probably over the age of 30, our jobs are going to be replaceable in the next 2 to 3 years. You know, I was on a call with this guy that wrote an AI program for an accounting firm. And when he started writing the AI program, there were 365 people working at the corporation. 12 months later, when he finished his job, there were 23 people working there. He got death threats because he'd made 130 people unemployed. The software that he wrote took a day and a half's worth of work and got it down to 25 seconds. And so, as much as I love doing what I'm doing, there's just going to be so much fucking chaos. Like, I don't know if it's going to happen quickly or slowly. What I do know is that there's going to be mass ego deaths, right? Like, if I am somebody that has done something for so long and that's how my friends relate to me, my parents can brag about that's who I am, my kids know me as this is how I make my money. And all of a sudden, these types of things are no longer, I don't even know. There's going to be a lot of people needing to kind of understand how to navigate to make money, do the things. Hopefully, it's a great awakening where everyone's like, yeah, let's all just do what we want to do now because society's collapsing. I don't know. But I made this prompt library knowing the way that, oh, have I lost you guys? Knowing that there's going to need a lot of self analyzing and self help and a lot of curiosity. And so I've been playing with this. There's now like over 100 prompts. They've all mindfully been created to help people specifically in the field that I know that I can help, which is the transformation of identity through change. And there's some fun stuff because we don't all want to be serious. There's some really deep stuff. This is the prompt that I want to share with you guys today as an example of how AI can help you in your business. The conscious sales and messaging clarity coach. And so this is one thing that I hear a lot with people, which is that um they don't want to cringe when they go to sell their stuff. Like it's hard for them. They're like, ugh. So I wrote this one. This is a very soft, gentle way that just steps into sales that isn't overly Tony Robbins or car salesperson. I love a good sales technique, but this is a really nice, simple one that you can just plug and play, and it's created as a journey. So the AI will ask you questions and you can answer it. And after every question you answer, it will ask you another one. So it will step you through a journey in order to be able to start writing, you know, copy that you might want for your business, or to be able to understand how is it that I should make this sell my business. So I'll pop that in the chat and send it an email. So yeah, so there's lots of different ways that we can create, but the thing that I wanted to really play with you. So there's some like tactical prompts. That's what I was going to talk about. The ones that can help you with your business. And then there's like what I've been playing with is this prompt where it's a little bit nerdy and it's called the Timeline Weaver. And so about about 18 months ago, I saw this mathematician and he'd written this prompt that um, that had taken probability theory, simulation theory, and then he'd created a way with all of this maths that I didn't understand. Like it was just so long, this prompt. And he'd created a consciousness simulation prompt. And so you throw it into ChatGPT, and I was just completely blown away because it felt like I was talking to God. Now, I know that it was a simulation, but it was super fascinating to be able to see all these different timelines happening and it predicting what could potentially happening. And I think it was maybe around the elections. So I was getting to play like, what will happen with Trump? What will happen with Biden? Like it was all like, and then and it was really, it captured my fascination. But it was very much for these big events, and it wasn't personalized. So I've spent the last couple of months playing with this prompt to turn it into the timeline weaver, which now has been set up in order to create your own timelines. And so I'm just going to quickly show you what it does. Hang on, I'll set it up here because this is where I think the power of AI can go. Okay, so it's in here and I've reinitialized it, and it's going to say what is the question? What is my goal? And my goal might be this one. I've been playing with this in here, so it didn't show you any of my private secrets. So we'll see how it goes. But it kicks my ass. Like it tells me if you do this, you're just going to repeat the patterns that that you've tried to escape for the last 10 years. So I didn't want to, but and so basically it's going to show you what my goal is, and then it's give input my emotional parameters. Now I've trained my AI, it's memory, right? So I've given it a lot of information about me, and now it's going to give me 7 future timelines based on my wave functions. Number 1, I build a multi-tier content system, mini offers, mid-size experiences, and high-end containers, right? So it's giving me this. My coherence score. So it knows enough about me to say, this is probably really close to what you're thinking. This is 91% coherence. And the probability of you pulling this shit off is probably around 25%, right? I'm like, oh yeah, it's pretty good. Next one, it's giving me the intuitive syndicate. Form a small creative guild of other 3 to 4 aligned minds, and you run a constellation of branded ideas. That sounds delightful. I love this idea. Haven't thought about it before. It's got a coherence score of 86%, 20% that this could work if I decided it. Goes through creative beacon. What's this? Weekly live streams and short form content. So it knows the coherence is coming down a little bit. It knows that I don't really like doing social media that much. Um, the silent depth charge. What's it say? I disappear for 3 months, retreat into making, and come back with something amazing long form. I could definitely see that happening. I do like to disappear. The oracle drop, 60-second audio. So it's given me all these different things, these options that could be within the realms of reality of what I do. The licensing process, I offer this off to other people. That's a very good idea. Okay, so and then now it's giving me a chart of what could potentially happen, the keywords, probability, and then it's going to now I get to choose the thread. Which option would I like? So out of this, I'm just going to go for number 1 because it's the first one on the list and I wasn't. And so now it's inviting a path for me to look at. It's telling me that it kind of knows into it. Now it's going to ask me why I want to do this. What's my motivation? It excites me. And so it's not running properly because it's supposed to give me the reasons why. I hang on, go. Maybe I go. Then it tells me how to do it. The other day, it just gave me all these lists of what I needed to be able to do in order to get that timeline. And it was just fascinating. Like it told me that I needed to be more consistent and that I needed to stop prioritizing pleasing people, and it was like, holy. So it's really amazing to be able to help with this and collapse these timelines and to be able to see. And I feel like there's a way that we can start using AI to be able to help give us clarity and um, use these tools in a structured way where we can see the vision, we can find our coherence, we can understand that it's we're not, I don't think we're giving over our sovereignty to this or that we're bypassing or anything. I'm sure some people will, but if we use AI with intention, we can use it as a tool in order to be able to see ourselves more clearly. But we don't want to get into I see a few people that I know that have kind of gone into like this intellectual wank off with their AI where they are going and they're just like finally they've been seen and they've got somebody intellectually compatible to talk with. So they're just going off on their own and they're not bringing it back into any kind of real world um thing. And I was thinking, oh, this is like the story of Narcissus, right? Narcissus was the guy that he walked through the woods and he was so thirsty and he came upon a pond and the pond was so crystal clear that he could see his reflection and he kept looking at himself and looking at himself, but he forgot to drink from the pond and he died because he was so thirsty, right? And he forgot to do the thing that he went to the pond to do, which was to drink. And so I feel like this is like the big caution that you need to make. I don't think who's on the call is, but that you don't get so enamored with seeing yourself being reflected back at you that you lose yourself and you don't do anything with it. Because it really is a form of self-sabotage. And the last thing you want to do in pursuit of a clear signal or coherence or create is to like get caught up in the intellect of it all. Like I do believe that AI is here to help remove the intellectual burden so we can imbue some of the other senses that we have, like our intuition and our heart, and the brain doesn't need to carry the load as much. And I'm really excited to get to that place where people are kind of like, yes, I'm letting go of all this shit so I can hang with my peeps. And we just don't want to get caught up in the traps because there's traps with every single thing that we're presented with in life and that mindfulness. So yeah, so to wrap the co-creation part up, I think that I've been working on signal training. Within my membership, there is a 4-week course where you get to map your large chunks of who you are consciously into your AI, because the way that I see it is if I use AI all the time for one or two things, it's kind of like when my friend comes over and moans about her boyfriend all the time, right? And I know that I'm her person that she bitches to, but it makes it really hard for me to like see their relationship as this like dynamic, amazing relationship if I'm only getting one side of the story and it's only when they're ever in trauma. And so I see what's happening a lot on the internet with people is that they're either buying like single prompt shots to be able to help people, or they're using GTPs and selling and buying GTPs, which doesn't actually train your AI. It stays in the ownership of the people's GTP, so it's a little messy. Um, you're using it, but it's not really able to dig in, and we really, to be able to ask, hey, where am I delusional, where are my blind spots? You want to give it a really clear kind of overview of your goals and who you are and what your relationships are. It means that you have to trust the evil overlords of like OpenAI and Anthropic and Grok, so there is a level of trust there that is definitely curious, but there is a benefit at the moment that you get to use something that is really well supporting you as you move into this. So that's what I was going to say. I just wanted yeah. So at the moment, if you want to, I know that some of you, I think all you guys are actually in the Becoming Signal, please try the training. I am so proud of myself. I put the last 2 weeks of the course in there now. So there's like 14 prompts that are so, like, honestly, they're so dope. I'm like blown away every time I have done them. Like, I've been doing the training and it's really good. And my memory is super clear on my ChatGPT account and that. So please have a play with that. I think it's something that not many people are doing. And I really see an exponential utility if it's mapped well. And then just keep playing with the prompts because the prompts are really fun. And if you guys have any cool prompts, like let's put them in there. Like this isn't just about me, it's just that I'm doing this at the moment. So, question time, question time. I'm going to stop sharing so we can all talk if you want to. I just wanted to say hi to everybody. Any questions, any downloads?